it's probably the one thing that made me who I am today. That's why we were called the Cinderless Wonders, because they couldn't believe that we'd win a district championship and not have a track. It gave me a sense of discipline, camaraderie, working with teammates. You go to work in a job, you got to work with other people, and be able to get along with other people and how to deal with that. A sense of you got to work to accomplish something.
Okay. Do you feel like track helps you improve in the other sports
Oh
in any
yeah,
way?
definitely.
In what ways?
Speed wise, uh, endurance, confidence. You got to track. You got to be confident in yourself. I mean,
Yes,
you got to want it in yourself. I mean, of course, I think speed is a God-given talent to a certain extent. I mean, you can build a little speed through strength and things like that, but you got to have some God-given talent to do that. But I think that people that do track, at least back then, was something we just really wanted to try to do to enjoy and have a good time.
Right.
And I believe, and I think this personally, I think that's what's wrong with a lot of sports today is coaches want their kids to focus on one sport, and I don't necessarily believe that's a good thing. I think that you have to play multiple sports in order to better yourself in another sport. And two, I think coaches are limiting themselves to their athletes, because if you got a good kid that's a good baseball player and he wants to play basketball, there's an overlap. And so they need to be given time for let the kid be able to do both.
Right.
Like Coach Leggett and Coach Carlisle and those coaches, they allowed me to play the sports just like with the Jennerson. I mean, I'd be running track. In the next 10 minutes, I'm over here practicing baseball. And so the Coach Satchel, they had to allow us to do that.
Right.
And a lot of kids, especially in smaller schools, your better athletes can play more than one sport, and you need to let them play, because you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your team if you're not having your best athletes out there.
Absolutely. And, I mean, one of my hopes is, even though we're a really big school, we've still only got so many athletes who are really successful or can really exceed at the different sports, and I think they complement one another. A football guy can get faster in the spring doing track, and that translates directly into football. Or, one of our fastest 400-meter runners last year was a baseball guy. We were able to work out a schedule where he was able to do both.
That's good.
And so, trying to really promote that culture where those kids get to take that opportunity.
I mean, there was times that we would play. Most of our baseball games started in the afternoon, so we were. Most stadiums didn't have lights, so we'd actually leave school at noon and go start our games at around 2 o'clock, something like that. So, and track meets didn't start till like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So a lot of times I'd play a baseball game and then leave from there and go to the track meet. So it was fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did y'all have track meets at the high school?
No, we didn't have a track.
Okay, so
because we were called the Cinderless Wonders.
Yeah, that's right. So it was just the circle.
And that's why I was saying all we had was a path in the outfield for the track, and then we had a sand pit for our jump in.
Absolutely.
And the high jumpers had to jump in the sawdust.
Right. And to some degree, we're still the Cinderless Wonders, because North Park built their track at some point in the 70s, I believe. Yeah, sometimes around there. And there was track meets. Denham had track meets there. But over time, it's just not been kept up, and so now we're limited to what our facilities are.
Yeah, that's got to be really hard today, especially competing with other schools that has a track facility. Back when I was coming up, I guess we probably were there was a few schools that didn't have tracks around the area, but in Livingston Parish, we definitely didn't. No schools had tracks back then. But I don't know of any other schools except for maybe, I'm not sure if there were any other schools in Livingston Parish that ran track back then that I can remember. At least we never did compete against any of them. It's mostly East Baton Rouge schools. But you just had to do what you had to do.
Absolutely.
You know?
And it's trying to make the most of the circumstances, but also, my mindset right now is trying to create the best opportunity for our students, because, I look at some of the talent that's come through our school, and we've got talent. And I've asked them, those athletes, the question, do you feel like there would be a bigger turnout or more attention if we had a track? And how do you feel about something like that?
It possibly would. To me, if a kid wants to play track, run track, they're going to do it.
Right.
I don't know that it's a draw from the facility wise. It may be because I think kids today got caught up too much in the idea of playing to get a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what it's about. It's about learning life skills.
Yes, sir.
And being able to participate with others and work with others and being successful within yourself of, I ran that 100-yard dash today and I won, It's just a self-motivating type of sport.
Right.
And I'm afraid too many kids today don't have a lot of self-motivation to really want to better themselves, because, to play other sports besides one sport that you're good at, you got to really want to do it. I mean, it's not. I think the social media world today has gotten kids too much involved with that rather than participating in a sport.
Right. There's a level of determination that has to happen with it.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the state meets. What was the competition like? You said you hit your jump on the last jump.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy, I remember he jumped like 44 something his first jump, and he passed on his other jumps and he was after me until I jumped that 45 when he got up and tried to beat it, but he couldn't beat it because he'd been sitting down so long.
Right.
It was like any other track meet today, I would imagine. I hadn't been to one in a long time. It was at Northeast.
Okay.
Up in Monroe.
Right.
We had gotten there and it rained all day, so we didn't even know if we were going to have a track meet or not.
Okay.
And so we were sitting around the hotel, and Coach DeGeneres called and said, "Y'all get ready. We're going to." I mean, it was like it actually started probably an hour or two later than it should have, but they went ahead and had it. It was wet, but we still had it.
Right.
And of course, we had an old. I can't remember how we traveled up to Monroe, but around here we had an old blue bus called Blue Goose, and we traveled all the track meets in that bus.
Okay. How many people were on the track team?
I can't remember, but we had somebody participate in every sport or every event.
Okay. Were girls participating at that point? Okay,
no,
so it's just guys.
It was just guys, and but we did have a large number. It wasn't just a few of us. I mean, it was a good number.
Right.
And like I said, we were competitive. Of course, we won the district, I don't know, like 5-6 years in a row.
Okay.
With not even having a track.
Right.
Because Cinderless wonders because they couldn't believe that, we'd win a district championship and not have a track.
Absolutely.
These old country boys just got out and ran.
Just go do what you can. Jump in the dirt and the sawdust or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
When I graduated in 2005, we trained at North Park, which was asphalt, and I can always remember the first time we'd go run on a track, running in spikes, and during the season your calves would just tighten up and it just be a whole different type of experience. Whenever you trained on the dirt path and then ran on something else or jumped off of something else, was there a different experience? Did you have to adjust it all?
Not really. I mean, we felt that we were running faster or jumping further just because of the feeling of running on that cinders. But as far as, I actually think it made us better running on the dirt than we practiced on it, because you can't run as fast on the dirt.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think it actually might have helped us to be able to do that rather than having a track of our own.
Yeah, getting to overcome the circumstances a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't know that we ever thought about us not having a track and other people having a track.
Right.
And we never back then we just was glad to participate and knew that we had each year that we were competitive, so we knew we had a chance to win. So
Right.
everybody likes to be part of a winner.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, even talking to Coach Pete Boudreaux at Catholic, he's got 50 state championships between cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track. And I was talking to him about the vision to get a track, and he said, "Well, I didn't have one the first 12 years, which was back in the 70s and that time. But you still have to work within your circumstances and do what you can."
Yeah. Sometimes you don't. If you don't know any better, I'm not sure that it makes a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we had good athletes.
Yes, sir.
And they participated in the sport because they wanted to.
Right. I think that, part of the concern for me now is when we look at the parish, you look at Walker, and they've had a track for over 20 years now. Live Oak's had a track for 3 years, and when I come to Denham, I get the question of, why don't you have a track?
Yeah.
And that's, both on the outside as well as from the kids, the students, because when we go to a Live Oak track meet or we go to a Walker track meet, it's, why can't we practice on a track or something like that? Do you feel like it's, I gotta ask this, you feel like it's appropriate or right for Denham Springs to have a track, like they should?
I think they should. I mean, I've been wondering for a number of years now why these other schools are getting their facilities and Denham Springs is not. There's a disconnect somewhere, and I don't know where that is, but I know that Walker and some of these other places are passing bonds and things like that to be able to do stuff like that, but I really think it's hurting Denham Springs not having the facilities other schools have.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier the benefit of having the baseball field and the track in the outfield. You even look at the softball and baseball fields. I mean, how important would it be to have all of our facilities, a track and baseball and softball, all of that right there for the school itself?
That would be fantastic. But of course you don't have room for a baseball stadium there. Which, like I said, at the time now with the Hornsby Gym, we had the baseball field there.
Right.
But of course I know what you're trying to do, and I think it's a great idea. But I think it would even be better if you could have the track on the football field.
Absolutely.
And just move the bleachers back a little bit on one side or the other and put it there, because I think what it does, it creates a little bit of unity, and plus it gives the kids an opportunity to, if one is playing football or something, he can be right there during spring to run track and do his football too at the same time. And two, I think it's a safety issue. Putting kids on a car, driving them to wherever, letting them go practice, I think is not a good idea too.
Absolutely, yeah. And the direction right now is trying to find the most appropriate and the most cost effective, because we'd have to move the bleachers back on the visitor side. And if you look at the lights, when the lights were brought in, they were brought in for a track. The lights on the home side, the bleachers are right next up to them, but there's a 20-yard gap between the visitor side and the lights on the visitor side, and it's just that those bleachers were put in too close. And then we'd have to tear down the concession stand on that visitor side, and now we have the access road to the back of that parking lot. And so trying to figure out, is it better to do it in this space and make all those renovations, or would it be more cost effective over here? My goal at the end of the day is to get a track, wherever I can.
Sure.
Because I think it would give us a better competitive, not necessarily advantage, but it would equal. Sure. It would make a level playing field.
Yeah. And you even have your dressing facilities right there too. That would make a difference to just get dressed and walk right out on your track. It just would make more sense to have it there at the football field if you could. I'm not sure expense-wise. I would think it would be cheaper than building a whole new facility.
Right.
Because you don't have to put bleachers. You already got bleachers. You don't have to do a dressing room because you already got a dressing room. Unless you dress there and walk across the street. I mean, you could do that. But it just would make it a whole lot better to have it all right there together.
Right. How do you feel high school sports in general helped you? You obviously went and played college ball. How did it help you both in college as well as just life ahead?
it's probably the one thing that made me who I am today. Not to say that I'm any spectacular person, but it gave me a sense of discipline, focus, camaraderie, working with teammates. You know, you go to work in a job, you got to work with other people, and, you know, be able to get along with other people and how to deal with that. A sense of you got to work to accomplish something. I mean, if you want to be better, you got to work at it. If you want to be good at your job, you got to work at it.
Right.
You know, it gives you a sense of that, and an opportunity to meet other people. I mean, the people I've met over my lifetime through sports has been phenomenal. I mean, even today, people recognize me in other communities from playing sports, and so it just gives you a sense of an overall human being, I guess, to be a better person. You know, I think so many kids today just don't understand what sports is really all about. You know, they're trying to, like I mentioned earlier, you know, they want to, you know, play professional baseball, or they want to play in college. They think, you know, just because I play this fall ball or baseball or play in the summer basketball, AAU all year round, you know, that's good, but that's not what sports is really supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about making yourself a better all-around person.
Right.
And all that other is fine and dandy. You know, it's like I tell my granddaughter, she's pretty good at golf, and you know, college sports it's kind of gotten away from what it's supposed to be about too, because now they want to pay the college athletes and all that kind of thing. I'm not really for that, because you're missing what really college sports is supposed to be about when you start down that path. But there again, had I not been playing sports in college, I just would have been another number. And I don't mean to say that in an arrogant kind of way, but it just gives you access to other things that just an everyday student doesn't have an opportunity for.
Right.
Because they help you with your classwork. They help you with everything, you know, all sorts of things. I mean, I never went through registration. I mean, my classes was full because I was somewhere traveling playing ball, so my classes was full during the spring semester. And so it enabled you to have a lot easier experience in college, being an athlete in college.
Right.
And it's just it just helps you all around.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, sports is if I hadn't, I mean, it hadn't been for sports, there's no telling where I'd be. I mean, but it helped me in job opportunities. It helps you, and because you get to meet people that might can help you get a job. I mean, you know, life is about who you know, not about what you know.
Right.
And so it's really a valuable experience for kids to play sports. I don't think they really realize what advantage it could help them. And whether they're the top or not, just participating and playing is a big advantage.
So what would your advice be today to high school athletes?
Play every sport you can. You know, it also, you know, you got to keep your grades up too. So I mean, it makes you focus on working on your grades. So it would help you in your classroom too. And I would recommend it. You know, every kid could find a sport to play, whatever it is, whether it's soccer, whether it's track or football, whatever. Try to find something, and you don't have to be the all-star on the team. I mean, you just find you a niche and try to get good at that niche and try to be the best that you can, and enjoy the experience of being out there with other people and representing something that's, you know, Denham Springs is a great community for sports, or it has been in the past. You know, you get a lot of people move in and don't really understand the history of sports with Denham Springs, especially basketball.
Right.
But it just helps you in your community. You know, you're like I mentioned earlier with your jobs. You know, you get to meet people that's out there that are. You know, they think the athletes, because of your experience is playing sports and how you've learned to accomplish things and be determined and work ethics, when you go into a job interview, and a lot of interviewers, they might ask you, do you play sports in school? The time that they need to better themselves at this job, and I'm going to look closer at them. So I think the job market for people is more open whenever they when they play sports.
Right.
I know it helped me.
Yes,
It helped
sir.
me a lot.
Absolutely. And you mentioned several big names in the history of Denham. When we talk about the history of sports in our community, Mr. DeGeneres, a Big D, Coach Dodson, Coach Leggett. What were those men's, what was their impact on sports in our community as a whole?
Well, my sophomore years when Coach Carlisle and Coach Leggett and Coach DeGeneres and Coach Satcher came there, and during that, prior to that, the guys that were there, the men that were there earlier were, they were good at their jobs, but they were not. Like Coach Leggett came from Holden, and he was the premier basketball coach anywhere.
Right.
I mean, he won state championships at Holden. Coach Carlisle had won state championships down at Assumption. So they brought an air of winning, to Denham Springs. And they actually turned athletics around, not in all sports. Coach DeGeneres was a type of guy that just was a sticker on technique. I mean, he could take a guy that weighed 100 pounds and beat a 250-pound guy every day because of his technique that he would teach him. And so the way that they taught and related to the kids, their experiences of being winning, created a winning atmosphere at Denham Springs. And Coach Wax, he continued that. I mean, they went to the playoffs for, 20-something years in football. And in my junior year, then my senior year, we went to the state semifinal in football.
Right.
And we wasn't a premier team. In fact, we got beat. No, the very first game we played reserve. They beat us like 36-6 or something like that, and we played them the first game in the playoffs, and we beat them 6-2. And and then we went on. Beat Central Lafourche, and then we played Jesuit in the semifinals, and they beat us like 21-0. But they ended up winning the state championship.
Right.
And then Central was the big team back then in football, and they had beat us during the season, but they played Lake Charles. Lake Charles beat them in Jesuit, and Lake Charles played in the finals. So, but they were very inspirational. They were Coach Leggett was hard nosed, but he. The man, you'd have ultimate respect for him.
Yeah.
Coach Carlisle was a little different, a little easier going person than Coach Leggett. Coach DeGeneres was loud and all. Sometimes everybody just kind of ignored him, but they listened to him. He's well respected. And Coach Wax was a little bit quieter, type.
Right.
Get things done. He'd talk a little bit lower and easier, slower. And Coach Satcher was kind of the comical one of the bunch.
Yes, sir.
But he knew his stuff too. And so they together, those guys, they worked together. That's why we were allowed to play other sports, because they did work together and helped each other. And but they knew how to get the most out of kids.
Right.
And I think that's, of course, when I graduated in supervision administration, and I was a coach for a few years. And to me, that's the biggest thing about coaching is, the coaches that can get the most out of their athletes or their players is the ones that win. I mean, you can have a great game plan, a great strategy on how to win, but if you can't get the kids, you can't get it out of them, it doesn't matter how good your plan is.
Absolutely. what do you think sports, high school sports does for a community like Denham Springs?
Oh, well, it brings a community together, a certain facet of the community. What's happening with Denham Springs now is there's so many people moving in from outside that, like I mentioned earlier, they don't know the culture of athletics. If you get to a small community like Holden or one of the other, that is Holden. I mean, you go to a ball game in Holden and everybody in the community's there. When I was coming through, that's the way it was here. There'd be signs all on stores, good luck tonight or whatever. Whenever we went to the playoffs, man, businesses would shut down. Everybody would take off to go to the ball game.
Right.
So it was it creates a unity within a community, and but when you start having a lot of people moving in from outside, don't really understand, then you still have the basic group of people that's here, but the outsiders, unless they got a child participating, just won't, they won't get themselves involved very much.
Right.
But it is something that like I said, holds people together in the community.
Absolutely.
And we'll bring them together.
Yeah, and it's not always about the wins and losses, but it definitely, you want your programs to be successful, right? And I think that's what everybody would want at the end of the day.
Right. And I think for coaches, you've got to sell yourself to the community. You got to be able to relate to people in the community. You can't just be one that's going to stand off and just do your thing and heck with everybody else, because you got to have participation from the businesses. I mean, you try to raise money for whatever, or try to help you get extra things. The business is the one that supports you, so you got to be involved with the business community. You got to get the people that's interested to help you help get others.
Right.
So you've got to sell yourself as a coach in the community, and that goes a long way.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the time.
Enjoy it. I hope I answered your questions.
Absolutely, you did. You did. Gives us a chance just to look into the history of athletics as a whole at Denham, as well as track and field specifically, and get a little insight from it.
Well, like I said, back when I was coming through, it was there was a few kids that played more than one sport, but I guess I was the only one that probably played all four sports my senior year. And I guess I was just blessed to have the opportunity. I mean, it was just something I wanted to do. I enjoyed it and had a good time at it. But I did have an opportunity to play baseball in college, and I had an opportunity to go punt at LSU football, but I wanted to play basketball.
Right.
And so that's where I ended up.
Yes, sir. I mean, I think it worked out well for you.
Yeah, it did. I can't go back and say. The only thing is, Coach Jennings used to tell me all the time, if I'd have worked harder, I'd have been a better athlete. So I thought, I thought I worked pretty hard myself.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I didn't.